There are secrets Hollywood never dared to print. And one of them belongs to the man everyone thought they knew, the charming, unshakable detective who could talk his way out of any fight. James Garner, the face of the Rockford Files. To America, he was wit and integrity wrapped in a leather jacket, the man who made cynicism look cool. But behind that effortless smile was a story even his closest friends never dared to tell. It began quietly, somewhere between late-night shoots and laughter shared in dressing rooms. A connection, a spark, and then a rumor that Hollywood would spend years trying to erase. The tabloids never published the photo, but whispers say it existed. Garner, late one night, leaving his Malibu apartment, not alone. A young actress, a co-star from a guest episode, wrapped in his jacket, her hair tangled by the ocean wind. They weren't rehearsing lines. They weren't acting. A neighbor told the Hollywood Gazette. They looked like they'd known each other for years. He kissed her before unlocking the door. It wasn't a goodbye. It was something else. By sunrise, word had spread across the lot. The show's producers panicked. The studio ordered silence, and the woman, whose name was quickly scrubbed from future press releases, was gone within a week. To the public, the Rockford Files was still television gold. But behind the scenes, its leading man was living in a storm of whispers, the kind that no detective, not even Jim Rockford, could ever solve. By the time the tabloids got wind of it, it was already too late. Someone had seen them, James Garner and the woman from the Rockford Files, stepping out of his Malibu apartment one night, arms entwined, a kiss that lingered just a moment too long. The photo never made print, but the whisper did. By morning, agents were calling, producers panicking, and NBC press officers drafting the line they'd been trained to use. Mr. Garner is a devoted husband and consummate professional. Rumors of misconduct are entirely unfounded, but Hollywood never needed proof. It only needed a story. For days, Garner avoided the studio's cafeteria. Crew members spoke in half sentences when he passed. The woman, a guest actress named Catherine Wells, disappeared from set by week's end. Her trailer was emptied overnight, her name quietly removed from the press notes. To the public, the Rockford Files was still a hit. But on set, something had changed. Garner still smiled for the cameras, still delivered his lines with that effortless cool, yet between takes, he looked lost. The kind of lost that only a man carrying a secret can understand. One night, a script supervisor found him alone on set, hours after everyone had gone home. He was sitting in Rockford's trailer, staring at a photo on the desk. When she asked if he was okay, he just said, "Some things you can't talk your way out of." At home, his wife Lois learned about the rumor like everyone else, on page 7 of a tabloid. Friends said she never asked for the truth. She just stopped waiting up for him after filming. The studio did what Hollywood always does. It waited for the next headline to bury the last. But for James Garner, the damage was done. That one moment of affection, that kiss by the sea, became a ghost he would carry through every scene that followed. Because even America's coolest detective couldn't solve the mystery of a heart caught between love and regret. Years passed. The whispers faded, but they never truly died. Hollywood moved on. New stars, new scandals. But James Garner remained. Cool. Confident. Unbreakable. At least, that's how the world wanted to remember him. Behind the leather jacket and that effortless grin, however, was a man who had grown tired of pretending. He had spent decades playing characters who could charm their way out of anything. Yet in real life, there were wounds he never let anyone see. When reporters asked about the rumor years later, he laughed softly and said, "If they're still talking about you, you must have done something right." But those who knew him best said the smile didn't reach his eyes anymore. At home in Brentwood, he lived quietly with his wife, Lois. The two rarely appeared in public. Some nights, he'd take long drives along the Pacific Coast Highway, headlights carving through the fog, radio tuned to the oldies, songs from the years when everything still felt possible. Neighbors said he often parked by the beach for hours, staring at the waves in silence. In his office, tucked behind awards and framed scripts, sat a single photograph, an on-set candid of him with a woman who was never credited, never mentioned again. She was laughing. He was looking at her. And for a moment, you could almost see the man behind the legend. Not the detective, not the star, just someone who once believed in love. When his health began to fail in the early 2000s, Garner retreated further from Hollywood. He wrote a memoir, but skipped entire chapters, the ones that hurt the most. He spoke of laughter, work, and legacy, but never of that night in Malibu, never of Catherine Wells, never of the photograph that outlived the scandal. He passed away in 2014, quietly, as he had lived most of his later years. At his memorial, friends recalled his humor, his humility, his strength. But one colleague from the Rockford Files said something different. He looked out at the crowd and whispered, "He was the best of us." But even the best hearts have their secrets. And maybe that's what made James Garner unforgettable. Not the coolness, not the fame, but the humanity hiding behind every smirk, every sigh, every unspoken memory. Because behind the legend, there was a man who once loved too deeply and never forgot how it felt to be caught.